Hey, welcome to this edition of our Facebook interviews with successful RM members and successful people and just wonderful people. So far, we are 1 for 1. Now we're going to be 2 for 2 with some really, really wonderful, smart people coming at you. I am so excited about this. Joanne Westward has been with us for about 30 days, maybe 45 days in the RM program.
2 months now, I think.
60 days, but is you are the definition of go-getter. You are the definition of positive. You are the definition of I'm gonna grab this golden lasso and win. If anybody is it, you are a survivor and a hard worker and wonderful person and an avid cat lover. So we may see some of them come and visit us, which is fine. I love all animals, so more than people sometimes I found throughout my life journey. So that's wonderful. So Joanne, tell me a little bit about just real quick, your background. How did you get into this wonderful thing called marketing agencies?
So back in the 2000s, which sounds just so funny to say still,
Right.
I knew where I was, I didn't want to be, and I didn't know where I was going. My college degree was long gone, really doing much good for me. I loved computers. I did not grow up in the day and age of computers, so trying to figure out what I could do. Facebook hit. I loved Facebook. I was good at it. Started working with local businesses doing their social media marketing. Was kind of the it girl for a long time until all those college grads started hitting the market. And then after a while, of course, social media grew up and needed to be integrated into more of an overall marketing strategy. So I am fairly self-taught. Taught myself how to build websites and how to do social media and the whole 9 yards. Love it. Been following Tom and Nick for probably since their inception. I don't know. And then about 10 years into my own agency, I hit my head up against the wall and I didn't know what to do different than what I was doing, and what I was doing wasn't working. I wasn't making near enough money. I was working 24/7. I was exhausted, no time to study and learn something new and be inspired. It was just bad all the way around. And heard about a local agency looking for help. So I joined a large agency, their national footprint. I was one of about 120 consultants out in the field. Enjoyed it until I didn't. It worked and worked and worked, and then it didn't work. And I couldn't seem to make it work again. So we had a meeting of the minds and they opened the door for me. So I left. Went back to doing my own agency. Now, back in the fall, when things were kind of tenuous,
Sure.
I had gotten a conversation with Tom, and I really loved what this program had to offer. I just couldn't do it without being all in. And so long as I had a full-time job, I couldn't be all in.
Sure.
So when I no longer had the full-time job, so March and April were terrible. In fact, in April, I'm thinking I got to go get like a real job. And then something happened in May and I was closing deals left and right. And in 1 week, I closed 3 pretty significant deals for me, but it took me a week to onboard them. And that's when I realized, well, I have my hands full again. This is about as much as I can do on my own, but I'm not making near enough money. So I needed to figure something out. Remembered my conversation with Tom. So actually got in touch with you, Nick, and had a good conversation and said, let's do it. I knew I couldn't do it alone. So that's what brought me to here.
It's a fascinating journey because I love it, right? 2000s when you were in Facebook, it was the wild, wild west, right? I mean, there wasn't a lot of margin in the business. I remember in my agency, we were doing posting for, we didn't know what to do, right? So you're doing posting for people for like $200 a month or something like that. But it was the wild, wild, wild west. I also love one of the things that you said was I was working in the business in essence, the business was working you because you were grinding it. And I had no time to study and no time to be inspired. I wrote that down because I thought, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as whatever you want to call us, salespeople, we do need that time to think and study and time to be inspired, because that allows us to bring our creativity to the marketplace and to our customers. So I'm like, I really like that phrase. I'm going to use that. I also loved, I think, hey, when the student's ready, the teachers will show up, or the teachers will reintroduce themselves, or the teachers will appear. I also think, you were destined for this. I mean, you did it. You breathe it. When you and I speak, you speak marketing. I could see your eyes light up when you talk it. I mean, it's just fun for you. And my guess is every conversation you bring to a prospect or to a customer, you bring that energy, right? So it's just effervescent. It's like a champagne. It's just bubbly. So people have to love that. Were you nervous? Were you nervous taking the leap?
I was not nervous taking the leap because I had done it before, but after the 2 months of dismal, it was as bad as it was when I had the full-time job. I just wasn't able to close a deal, and so I had no money. I literally was down to pennies in the bank, kind of living on credit cards, which is
Sure.
not great. So it wasn't that I was nervous. I wanted it. And when I got just enough success at it, literally in May, I sold enough to make my monthly needs, so I thought, okay, so I'm covered. Now, how do we take this further? So no, I enjoyed I've always enjoyed kind of the challenge. So. And I certainly for myself.
Yeah, you've never backed out from a challenge, I could tell. Let's fast forward to today. Where are you at now with the agency, right? So May, we kind of hit the numbers we needed to, just to kind of pay the bills, put some soup on the table, and feed the cats, right? So where are we at today?
Yeah, and now that I do the math, you're right. It was the 1st of June when I signed up, and I doubled over my income in June. I took on a 6-location job that I never in a million years would have tried to do on my own. But what I needed most was sort of organization, how to track what I'm doing, how to have a system in place. Then as I hired people, here's my system, here's what you do. And so I studied that up really fast and put those systems in place really fast. I would still like to hire a couple of stronger people on my team. I'm okay with where I'm at, but I think there's room for a little stronger relationship and stronger skills. I currently have a web guy who has carried me. I have paid ads, and he also happens to be a Go High level aficionado, so that's helpful. I have a social media gal, so she does all my postings. Bookkeeper, that was huge. Yeah. She wrote me this morning about all the things that she's finding. It's like, oh, good. Glad to have you on board. So, I'm ready. And I'll tell you what most excited me was the new program, the Reach, the 90-day Reach. I've had the AGM, and I look since 16 or 17, and it's been sitting there. I had ideas, but I didn't have time and wherewithal to put a system in place to really work it. And so it's really literally been sitting for that long. And oh my gosh, this Reach system, I'm almost to the point of sending out the first batch of emails. So
oh, that's awesome. We're gonna have to check in to see how that goes.
Yeah.
If you think about it, I remember when you and I were speaking about you joining us, and one of the things you had said was, like, Google My Business. That was kind of your jam. Was that your front end? Is that still your front end, or are you looking at different things for the front end?
No, I'd say it probably is my front end.
Okay.
It was also, kind of a holdover from the agency I worked with. So I know it really, really well and can produce some results. In fact, one of the first guys I signed up in May, within 2-3 weeks, he got one of the largest contracts he'd ever had. And how'd you find me? And they said Google. So, that's very rewarding when you've been able to impact somebody else's business with your know-how. I really would like to do more website work.
Okay.
And I have the home services jackpot, I think they call it. But
Very good. Yeah.
I just, again, haven't got a system in place. So I'm trying to stay really focused, one thing at a time. And right now, the AGM, the reach, and I've been in this community for decades. I am fairly well known, but there's new businesses that pop up every day. So I'm really excited about just being that integral, that face forward within my community by sending out these emails and starting to generate that kind of conversation.
How big was your list when you started? Or did you have to build it from scratch? I mean, because I know you had the agency, then obviously you went to go work for somebody that kind of became their intellectual property. And so now you were building your list. Were you building it from scratch? And how big is it?
Good question. Oops.
Oh, if it's a customer, hang up on me.
That
Right?
wasn't.
Okay.
Old cohort.
There you go.
I did not have a list. So I didn't have a pipeline. Where all this business came from, I'm still scratching my head, kind of wondering. But so I have been using Lead Kahuna for several years, and I pushed the wrong button before. And so I really crank it. It's working almost 24/7 for me. I have a list of all of the industries, and I have 10 communities, and I just run it. And I've got a VA who helps go find the emails for those that are missing and so forth.
Good.
So my startup with the REIT system will be 500, but I already have maybe another 3,000 to pour into it. So yeah.
And is your funnel scraped from Lead Kahuna email first, or text, or call? What's your first step of outreach? Or yes, and yes?
Actually, I mean, I'm totally dependent on this AGM, the reach system, which will be email. Otherwise, my lead process right now is I network out the wazoo. In fact, it was funny, last week, a gal in my BNI group said, I was at such and such, and so was Joanne. In fact, every time I go to something, Joanne's there. I kind of wonder how she gets any work done, because she's always out networking. So I just stay relevant that way, and I get referrals and so forth. So I have not done, the cold calling. I used to literally go door to door for the agency.
Door pulls. Yeah.
That was rough. And I've, during COVID, I've sat on the phone, made 80, 100 dials a day. And there was another guy who way outdid me. I mean, I look like a schmuck. So yeah, I'm hoping those days are over, and that there are systems in place that can show them what I can do and get my phone ringing.
It's interesting on the networking, right? Because my guess is you've been programmatic, and certainly COVID kind of, for 2 years kind of cut us down, or BNI was good about trying to do it virtually. And, and that's a system. It's an international system, for those that are listening, that, it's about networking, right? So it's business owners or professionals that come specifically to help build each other's networks and referral and grow. But, many times people say, well, I tried networking. Well, you ask them, they went to one event, right? And and they didn't do, that was it. But, you really, I always say, especially when I'm, grooming young salespeople or new salespeople, or young, new professionals getting into a business, no one wants a carpetbagger, right? So nobody's going to give a referral to somebody that they just met once, right? So people get upset. Well, I didn't get anything. Well,
Right.
they don't even know you, right? So it's like, it goes back to, no one gets married on the first date. So you really have to say, this is a book of business that I'm going to grow, just like it's a prospect list that I'm going to
Right.
grow, right?
That's right.
And when you go to networking events, are you looking for business or are you looking for referral partners to get you into prospective businesses, or is it yes and yes?
Yes and yes, although I really push the referral network.
Yeah.
I would really like to nurture a relationship with somebody who can give me repeatable business
Yeah.
than the one-off.
Right.
And while you were talking, there's one avenue I've gone that I hardly hear anybody else doing. And up until, I started working with Remote Millionaires, it was 50% of my income. And that's alignable. And I worked it differently. Most people don't know. So a year ago, Alignable sent out an email saying, hey, we're wanting to do some in-person meetings. We're looking for ambassadors in your area. Would you be willing? I'm like, yeah, no duh. Put me in the room with a bunch of local business owners. Yeah, I think I might do that. So they had a few hoops to jump through. They have about a 2.5-hour series of videos, mostly shows you how to really maximize the use of their app, which is tremendous.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
And I now do 2 meetings a month. I don't get huge numbers at the meeting, but I'll tell you what, Alignable sends out an email on a weekly basis to everyone in my 5 communities that I have on Alignable and says, Joanne is having this meeting and wants to invite you. Joanne. So my name is being broadcast all over the place all the time. So I'm a known entity before I ever have met you the first time. People come in going, thanks for inviting me. It's like, you're welcome. Who are you? I mean, it's really kind of been amazing platform for me. So if you're extroverted, you feel comfortable leading meetings and doing all that, that would be a great way. I highly recommend becoming an ambassador for Alignable and building your local community network.
That's so smart, right? I think that is so smart. And even if you're not an extrovert, even because they are doing a lot of the legwork and has the let's call it the MC, right, or the host of the meeting, you could bring other, you're bringing other speakers in, right? So I think there's something there for everybody, and that's a really great tip, because I see Alignable. I like something happened. I signed up for it, right? Then it gets your I don't know enough about it,
Right.
and I should, right? So now I'm going to have to spend some time learning it. But listen, this is all about growing a local network, right? It's all about being known to a group of business owners, and I love the marketing space, and I think you do too, Joanne, because in essence, you're having a conversation about what are you doing to grow your business, right? Maybe you got it solved, maybe you don't, maybe we could help, maybe we can't. Let's just have a good conversation about it.
Yeah.
And if they're going to Alignable, they're thinking of how do I grow my business, right? If they're going to BNI or they're going to networking events, it's I'm thinking about how do I grow my business, because I think it's always been my understanding in conversations with business owners, I think they wake up thinking about how do I get more business, and they go to sleep thinking about how do I get more business.
Right.
And
I was going to say, when I run these meetings, I have people come up to me, and I think, to your point, they've wanted to do something, they don't know what to do, they don't know somebody who can do it that they're going to trust. And I invariably have 2 or 3 people come up to me at a meeting and say, can we talk? I've just never really tapped into digital marketing.
Yeah.
So that process gives me the credibility, the authority before I've ever walked in the door.
There's nothing better than being in the front of the room. I think for building authority, there is nothing better, right? Giving a speech, giving a community talk, giving a talk to, a networking group. And I think, doing the stuff like the was it 3-minute speech or 5-minute speech at BNI that everybody gets, doing that gives you that polish and that, you're no shrinking violet. I don't think a mic scares you, but, I think for somebody that might be afraid, I think there's things you could do, even Toastmasters, right? I mean, that's a little old school, but I remember doing Toastmaster in my 20s, right? Just saying, how do I get better at this? And my guess is they're still going strong. They're probably better than ever because more and more people need to kind of understand that.
Well, and I know at this agency, I mean, they had 500 employees and they hired a lot of students right out of college, very green, knew what they knew, but didn't necessarily have people skills, conversational skills.
Sure.
Everything's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. And I complained at one point. It's like, come on. I mean, they're talking to business owners. Can we step up the game? And I recommended that they do Toastmasters. Now, I don't know whether I was the first, but they eventually launched their own chapter of Toastmasters. So right there in the office, we'll go in and they're doing that and they're getting better at it. And so anybody should, beef up that skill. That would be huge.
What you said too, many things you've said have been phenomenal, but I think we forget what you just said. And I think, especially if you're hiring salespeople or hiring outreach people, you have to spend time listening to their calls, right? You have to spend time with them because it's especially like, listen, we all first job out of college, I was carrying a bag, right? I was lucky that there was mentors to groom me along the way. And, I came from, professional father, professional family, but some people don't have that. When I work with companies and we listen to their calls with their reps and everything's like, and yeah, oh, dude, that's awesome. You have to break them of that casual language. Because who's going to give anybody the keys to their business, i.e., their marketing, if their conversation is, oh, this is awesome, come on. So it is, so critical. The interesting thing too is, I'm hearing the Reach, I'm hearing AGM, I'm hearing BNI, I'm hearing networking groups, I'm hearing Alignable. Right. I'm hearing I did Toastmasters. I'm hearing I'm known in my community. So I've kind of building the grassroots over the course of time. Now you had a little bit of a runway. A lot of this is, just knocking it out. Right. There's investment of time. Right. But it's not like you got to go run a Facebook ad. Right. Of, $1,000 a month. Right. It's really just the old school of building a book of business, right? Or the bricks and, the kind of blocking and tackling of building a book of business that you've done. I scrape it on Lead Gorilla. I have a VA that finds the email. So, your playbook is, listen, doing it is the difference.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Some people won't do it, but your playbook is very repeatable for anybody that's watching this. Well, I mean, there's 10 good nuggets that I've written down, right? And I got to be active in the interview. So you should be able to get 20 good nuggets that Joanne has given you for this. So, but really anybody that's daunted by this it's doable. It's doable.
Yeah. And what I have most appreciated with the Remote Millionaires is they already have the game plan. They have all the training videos. Pick one. I mean, you can get that shiny object syndrome, which I've had for years. I already owned all of their stuff, Pick one and run with it. For me, the Reach system is perfect because I'm already fairly well known. And for those who don't know me, that free offer and that opens the door and they get on the phone and then you talk to them. And well, if you ever need any help, I do blah, blah, blah. And just creating those relationships. And then when you're out and about at all these networking things, people come up and it's like, oh my gosh, you're Bob. It's so nice to meet you. And it all starts to come together. And then they feel comfortable and they tell two friends about it. And that it just starts getting some momentum.
Last week I interviewed somebody for, as part of this Facebook interviews that we're doing. And he had his Big Al, who's been in business about the same time as you, maybe a couple of weeks before he came in, and is just knocking out of the park like yourself. He kind of came. He had a mortgage company, right? And the mortgage company in the 2000s, like you and I were talking about, was did good business. As some entrepreneurs do, took his foot off the gas, right? Kind of just wanted the easy button. And listen, I got the T-shirt, got the hat. I've made the mistakes myself. And then the business slid down, and then obviously the economy and the mortgage business in the 2007 and 8, that was a tough space. So he said, never again am I taking my foot off the gas. And I see you shaking your head.
Yeah.
What do you know now that you would have told Joanne, maybe what your first run in your first agency, or just what lessons learned have you learned that you want to make sure that you never forget?
Well, I can't grow the business, scale the business, and make the kind of money I plan to make by doing it all myself. So I absolutely rely on people. So I rely on particular contractors to execute and fulfill what I've sold. I rely on people like Nick and Tom and all of the experts within Remote Millionaires to learn a smarter way, quicker way to do things. But probably what I'm most excited about is that there's already systems in place. I just needed to adopt them. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I need some kind of consistent exposure, something that's churning out there all the time so that my phone is ringing, emails are happening, people are talking about it, and I'm more responsive than me being the one knocking on I can only knock on so many doors, and I'm tired. And so I think don't try and grow too fast. I mean, you really got to get some foundation. You need to know and understand digital marketing. You need to, like I say, pick one thing and do that really, really well, and then move on. So, I mean, I could do most all of the different things that Remote Millionaires and the Offline Sharks has available, but I've chosen to do the AGM with the Reach email system, and I want to get really, really good at that. I can do all the other things with all the people that I get through that process. So I didn't even know what I didn't know. I just knew I was tired, and I didn't know how to do anything else. Coming into this and learning systems, there's sales experts that help you formulate the words and so forth. There's technical people who help set up the databases. There's just success coaches who will help you figure out what the next step is so you stay really focused. There's it's just been a tremendous program and very beneficial for me. I appreciate having, because I live alone, work alone. I appreciate having a go-to forum, go ask a question, get some answers, it's like, oh yeah, I knew that. It doesn't matter, just that you can get some answers and move forward. And reading everybody else's questions, a lot of times they ask something I didn't even think to ask, and it's like, oh, that's a brilliant idea. I'm going to go do that. So I think the group atmosphere, Tom and Nick have built a 7-figure agency. They're doing something right. I'll do what they do, and I don't have to be 7 figures. I'll get close to 6. It'll be great, So I think modeling after success is really important.
I think you said a couple things that are really, really bright, right? Follow system. Don't think you have to recreate the wheel. Be part of the community. This community is one of the strongest communities I've seen. It's very supportive, right? Everybody lifts everybody else out. You said something that I always try to point out to people when I kind of show them the Slack and show them the community, everything is, I think you learn more sometimes from other people's questions than your own, right? You're like, oh, I didn't even think of that, right? Then you watch the thread of the answers and you're like, oh my, that's really, 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 really good, and how do I bring that to the forefront, and how do I learn from that? So, that is so smart. And I also think I was just talking to I was checking in with a client's salesperson, and we were on the phone just before you and I got on the phone. And and he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go do some door pulls today, right? I've been inside making phone calls a lot. I said, yeah, have at it. It's gonna be 99 here in Chicago. I don't know why he wants to do it today, but it is what it is. But I'm like, sometimes it does get a little lonely being in your office, right? Or being in your house and being on the phone. And I feel bad, like when my wife comes home from the office with the kids, you want to talk to somebody face to face than via the screen. But you have you get your process right. And it's like, I don't have to make those 80 dials a day or 90 dials a day, because I did the hard work to build up myself up to that point. So
Right.
I mean, you got so many great things going. I want to check in, especially after you engage in the reach and install it. And I want to hear about your journey. You're kind enough to send me messages, which I love. And even if there's bad messages, I want to know. But you're kind enough to kind of kid me up on where you're at. You've been a testament to the program, if you want to call it that, right? The community, but you're also doing the work, right? It's easy to sign up for stuff, but you're doing the work. And I just love that. I know we're going to blink, and I think you got a 7-figure agency in you, Joanne. I think you are.
Wow. Well, I know you've been very supportive. I appreciate that. And I just lost my train of thought, which is why I read all the forums, so that they put thoughts in my head. But I think this program is highly underrated. I think I've signed up for a lot of things. But like you said, it's only as good as what you put into it. And I knew it was a fair investment. It was a fair amount of pocket change. And to make that pay off, I was going to milk it for all I could for that 6 months and see where I was. And hopefully I'm going to be in such a place I'll just stay in here forever, because I really enjoy the camaraderie and the information that I can get from all this. So thank
Plus
you.
all the new stuff, right? I mean, reach is given to you, right? You don't have to go off on the shelf and buy it. And you're first in the ground running to implement it. So I know you're going to blow it up with that. And you're going to get there. Last word of advice towards anything? I mean, you've been kind with your time. I know you're a Dave Brubeck fan, right? So I knew I liked you. You love animals and you love Dave Brubeck, because I heard your ringtone. Right. So you're a jazz aficionado, which is awesome. But last words of advice for for anybody?
Well, I think you kind of hit it too, that balance of work and play. I don't play near enough, but I have a lot more margin in my life. I don't feel that pressure of having to do today. I'm doing a lot of work all the time, but I love it. I love the learning. I've broken records in my BNI group for the volume of education hours I'm investing right now. I love it. I can't get enough. I don't have enough time to listen to all of it. So I guess I keep going back to pick something and get really, really good at it, and then add the next thing. But if you bounce around, you'll never get any traction with anything. So I've played that other game, so I know that. So I'm staying really focused on this and wanting to see what I can produce out of it. So I'm super excited. Can't wait to get all my settings right on my email so I can start sending those out. I'm ready.
I think somebody said, and it may have been Tom, right, or somebody once, and I too, right, especially when you're growing your business and you know what you don't know, right? So that's always dangerous, right? So you want to go out there and acquire knowledge and gather knowledge, and I think sometimes it's easy to bounce from thing to thing to thing, because that new thing is going to be the answer, so you think, right? And it's easy to make investments and stuff and not implement, right?
Right.
And listen, I got the t-shirt myself, I got the hat,
Right.
right? If I point, I got to point back to me, especially when I was growing my business, especially in tough times, right? Where it's like, but I think what you said is one thing, execute it. Just really, really, really understand it and execute it as well as you can. And I do think the best leaders and the best entrepreneurs are lifelong learners, right? They have a quest for that.
Right.
But the other thing that you said, besides like the 10 other great things you said, I
You
think
make
as
me
an
sound
entrepreneur,
so smart.
you do. You've did you, the one thing you said that is so critical, and I found it, I did a horrible job, and I'm trying to get better at it, was take time to play, take time to refresh, right? Take time. Listen, you're in your business, you're thinking, even when you turn off, you're thinking about your business, right? Your subconscious mind is thinking about the business, but take that time to refresh, right? And I think I heard it maybe from Dan Sullivan, from the 10X, right? You want to give credit to where credit's due. He's like, listen, you and I are taking time off. You're just choosing to do it at your desk, right? I'm doing it on the beach, right? So I'm like, well, I'd rather take time off, right? And if I'm going to take it, I'm going to take it on the beach or go. I mean, you're in Ohio. The Reds are outstanding right now. Go to a baseball game. That young team is setting the world on fire. So I mean, even if it's something. So Joanne, you've been great with your time. I've learned from this. So I really want to thank you. I want to thank you for the confidence, that join the program, to be part of the program, but most importantly, the execution, because you're doing it and you're really, really, really getting some great results. But most importantly, you're such a wonderful person. I just love talking to you. I could keep on going, but I want to be fair to your time. I said a half hour and we're over it. So
I have a networking thing to get to.
I know I got to get you out of here. So, any last words? And if not, you could take off, and I'm gonna say goodbye to folks and tell them if they want to learn about the Remote Millionaires, how to find it.
Well, and absolutely, if you come in, then make sure you ping me and let's get to know each other, and that'd be great. So
Perfect. I'm going to check back in with you in a couple of weeks. Thank you, and enjoy your networking event. Take care, Joanne.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, folks, you heard Joanne's wonderful journey and how she found her way to Remote Millionaires. She's been part of our community for a long time. She made the leap, right? It was a little scary. She had a background in sales and marketing. She's a phenomenal person. 30 minutes with her and you could listen to her for another 3 hours. But if you want to join the Remote Millionaires program, please, feel free to reach out, hit me up on Facebook, hit our team up on Facebook. Jason's in here, Kunal's in here. They're part of the enrollment team. You could go to remotemillionaires.com to learn about the program. There's an application. We just want to have a conversation with you. If you think now is the time that you'd like to learn a little bit more about Remote Millionaires, to take that leap, to really put your journey of being a marketing agency owner on steroids, really gonna get in the next level, just reach out to us, right? So it's remotemillionaires.com. It's really, really easy. You could do /application. There's an application there. Or if you just go onto the website, hit us up on Facebook. If you have a question or just, have a quick answer, or if you're struggling in your agency and you want just to answer some quick response, just let us know. We're here for you. The entire community supports you. Thank you for being part of the Remote Millionaires offline sharks community. And thank you so much for listening. I hope this added value to your life. It did add mine. And thank you for all that you do.